From the art of the deal to keeping it real. Live from the Simply Vegas studios, it's The Power Move with John Gafford.
Back again. Welcome for another episode of The Power Move. My name is John Gafford. I am your host. On this show, we talk about business, we talk about life, we talk about strange and interesting things, and cool people come and share their secrets to success and what they do. Joining me in the studio today, as always, is Colt, the Bulgarian mongoose Amidan.
What's going on, everybody?
What's the fight? What's the fighting weight right now, Colt? What's the fighting weight? What is it?
182.
182?
Yeah. Skinny
182. Skinny fat guy? That's fine. And then also, we're in the studio today, Chris, the counselor. Connell, how are you, sir?
Gentlemen?
And sitting next to him in the studio in the hot seat today is a friend of mine that scariest guy. No, let's be honest with you.
I was.
No, for different reasons.
I thought it was a vet.
For different reasons. Yeah, that's the scariest guy. No, but
best body,
but in the studio today, Tim Larkin, has graced the cover of Black Belt magazine, author of the book "When Violence Is the Answer," which I think, if nothing else, that is the best title for a book in the history of books. Banned from the United Kingdom.
Yes. Still banned
for the United Kingdom, and a great story. We're going to talk to Tim today about his story and how I got there. First of all, how you doing, Tim?
Great, man. Thanks for having me on, man.
Dude, thanks for coming in, man. I appreciate it. We're doing a little. Tim has a great podcast too, and called me and asked me a couple questions about our studio setup, and I said, I got a better idea. Why don't you just come over here? I can extrapolate some amazing stories from you, and we can. I'll show you how the studio works.
This is worth the trip alone, man.
Yeah, I appreciate that, dude. I do. So first of all, in the news this week, a couple of things we're going to talk about. Obviously, now Colt, let me ask you a question. Right?
I haven't watched the news, so.
All right. Well, 2 years ago, this is more of a trivia question, right? 2 years ago, somebody went on the main stage at Inman, which is funny because Inman is actually right now. It starts today. For those of you who don't know what Inman is, it is the largest real estate conference of the year. It is the biggest one. It's here in Vegas, and it's going on right now. It starts today. The main stage there's probably, 6, 7, 8,000 people in that room on the main stage.
Yeah, big.
Somebody stood on the main stage 2 years ago and essentially called all of the iBuyers, which are the companies like Open Door, OfferPad, and these other companies, crooks, and said they were perpetuating the greatest theft in American history as Wall Street stole the equity from homeowners on Main Street. Who was that, Colt?
Well, that person didn't make friends that day.
No, who was it, though?
It was you.
That's right. It was me. That's right. It was me that did that. It did me. And since you didn't read the news this week, yesterday the FTC, in their wise and judgment, decided to smack Open Door, which is the leading iBuyer out there, with a $62 million fine for, in their words, not mine. What was it?
Cheating?
It was cheating. It was essentially they were misleading homeowners as to the fact that they had no fees, and it was cheaper to sell with them than with a realtor. And after an in-depth study, the FTC determined that those homeowners would have made more money on the open market with a realtor. So I hate to say I told you so.
You do? You hate that?
No, you know what?
Does that bother you?
There's two things I hate. There's two things I do love to say. I told you so, and fuck you, Chili's. I like to say that too. So anyway, but I got a new member of that.
Are we going to Salt Lake anytime soon for that?
Maybe we need to go up there. But I have a new member of the Chili's Club.
Uh-oh.
Papa John's, dude, dead to me. Dead.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I think you said Popeyes for a second. I'm going,
no. Popeyes gets a pass no matter what. Let's face that.
So what was so bad with Papa John's that?
All right, here's what's happening.
The N-word didn't lose you. You didn't lose them at the N-word a couple of years back.
Yeah,
that's true. That's true. Yeah, I'm a forgiver, Colt.
Why don't you just say, John, you're retroactive? Like it's been
okay, there we go. It's probably
just forgot to mention it.
No, I read an article that said that they don't have enough people. I randomly read this article saying that Papa John's does not have enough employees, so they have outsourced their ordering overseas, and now everybody in the store is just a cook or driver, right? Which I get. That seems smart to me. So randomly, my son, just out of the blue, we never order from there, goes, I want Papa John's. Really? Okay. So me and Gidget were getting ready to go to your house.
Yep.
And I was like, so we'll order Papa John's. So I go, no problem ordering it. Obviously, talking to a third world country, could hear the call center in the background. You knew it was not a restaurant when you called. And the lady's like, it'll be 30 minutes. Okay. An hour later, we're still on pizza. So I call up, and I kind of had to finagle the number to actually get to the store. And I get to the store, and I was like, the guy's like, can I help you? I'm like, dude, it's been over an hour for our pizza. No, I'm sorry. This would have been an hour and 10 minutes. And I was like, it's been over an hour and 10 minutes. And she's like, he's like, oh, yeah, that's bad, dude. Hang on a second. You want to talk to the manager? I said, yes, I do. And on comes Barbara. Barbara comes on.
Babs.
And Babs, this is exactly what Babs says. Yeah, can I help you? Yeah, we ordered a pizza. They told me it's going to be 30 minutes. It's been an hour and 10 minutes. We still don't have it. Yeah, we're running behind. Well, I know, but like we have to leave, and I was told it was going to be here. I just told you we're running behind. You know what? What's your name? My name is Barbara. Okay, Barbara. This is how we're running this. This is how we're going to handle this problem today. I think I'd like a refund. Fine. I'll call the driver, tell him not to bring your pizza. Click, and I'm going for me.
Well, John.
Not the best way to handle customer service in my opinion.
But did they serve you 6 margaritas and tow your car?
They did not serve me 6 margaritas. Let's keep things in perspective.
I'd say Babs plus the N-word. Now, okay, fine.
They did Babs by herself.
Babs by herself, John. Maybe just chalk one up.
They did. Yeah, they did not. They did not. Yeah, maybe not as bad as don't serve me 6 margaritas and tow my car. Maybe not that bad.
It's like
I'm not done with you, Chili's. You think I'm done with you? I'm going to come creeping up when you think you're safe. I'll be there. You trust me.
John's like every NFL female fan right now who's going 6 games, Deshaun Watson.
Oh, dude.
6 games.
6 games?
So I heard that. Let me ask.
Calvin Ridley got 17 for betting a $1,500 parlay on a team he didn't play for.
And who was the receiver for the Browns for the weed smoking 4 years ago?
Jarvis.
Jarvis Landry.
Jarvis Landry. Unbelievable. Tim, you watch football, NFL, follow that?
Yeah, unfortunately, on my side of it, every time there's an incident, I'm always getting the calls on some guy hitting his wife or something like that, you know?
Yeah, that's
25 independent
He just watches Page 6 and TMZ and kind of gets a full season. That's what he's doing. Well, anyway, this weekend, other news, I want to talk about something else without going fully into detail on it. But man, I had an exercise in emotions all weekend. I mean, really did. We had a situation with the company where somebody that had been with us for a long time, really close to my family, kind of made some decisions for them, and that's fine. But the optics of it were somewhat treacherous in our view. And man, my instinct, I try to follow the stoic thing, and the story is not even about that. It's about this. So I try to go with the stoicism idea, and I try to be very level-headed about everything that I do, and I try to, think about Marcus Aurelius and blah, 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 whatever else. And, and this, I was fine about it until my wife got very upset about it, and then I went to straight just laser beams coming out of my eyes, right? Looking for, out for vengeance. I did. And I spent the better part of the weekend fighting the need for vengeance and fighting the need to be calm, right? Very proud of myself, did not really do anything all weekend, which was fine. And then last night, it's been carried over all weekend, but last night I had a dream. And it was a good dream. This was the dream we talked about earlier. So I dreamed that I was in a house, and it was my house, and it was like kind of a weird kind of wood ceiling, and there were these cobwebs on the ceiling. Right. And I couldn't get them down with anything else for some reason. So I was like, oh, I got a blowtorch and heat me. Hang on, hear me out.
What?
Hang on, hear me out. I was like, heat.
I had a nuclear missile.
I know, but I'm like, heat melts cobwebs. So I'm like, I light the blowtorch and I'm just kind of torching off the cobwebs, and like there's some spiders I'm getting and nuking and I'm cleaning up. I'm like, oh, this is great. I'm cleaning all this up. And all of a sudden I realize I've set my roof on fire.
Yeah, sure.
Right. And I woke up thinking,
a roofing company?
No.
702 Roofing.
Yes, we do. 702 Roofing.
702 Roofing. For all your roofing.
Need a roofing. No, but I woke up thinking, man, if I go piss and vinegar at this, it's going to burn my whole house down. So I just woke up with it. You know what? Just play to win, play on an even field, do the right thing, do those things. And don't get sucked into the vitriol side of it. And I woke up this morning. It's such a peaceful feeling because I felt like God had sent me that dream to be like, bro, don't burn your house down over this. It's not worth it.
You should never bring your
house down. That was great. I know, but I thought that was really good. I thought it was good.
Much needed, I'm sure, too.
Much needed. So enough about all of this nonsense. If you're still with us, man, 9 minutes deep. Thank you for staying. It's been great. Anyway, let's go over Tim. So Tim, first of all, let's talk about you. So tell me about your background, because again, I like to, you're a high level entrepreneur, dude. You're a successful guy with what you do. And you took something kind of interesting, which was your martial arts and your background in self-defense, and turned it into a productive business. So you kind of blended your passions with the finance side of things. So I like that. So again, we like to believe that success leaves clues. So tell me, where did you grow up? Let's talk about that first.
Navy kid, so all over the place. Originally Boston, Massachusetts. That's where my family's from.
Mm-hmm. How many siblings?
I have 2. I have a younger brother and a younger sister.
Okay.
So we were moving every 2 to 3 years, and Dad was an officer in the Navy, and we went everywhere. I was used to that. And one thing I got to say about that is it gives me the ability to, from an entrepreneurial standpoint, I realize nothing's permanent and change is, always there. And having to, connect with people and stuff was really good. As a young kid, I didn't realize that, but, I never, my wife and I talk about this all the time. When she gets ready to move on from her position, we're thinking about going overseas and stuff because, we know how powerful that is for the kids. I got to live overseas for a while. So that really helped.
Not the UK though, Tim.
They will not be letting me in the UK.
Yeah. What was your favorite place you lived at?
We're going to get there.
I really enjoyed Barcelona. It's Europe. I've also spent time in Venezuela. And then, funny enough, London. I went to school. I went to school at LSE for a year, and that won't be.
Won't go into the reunions.
Won't be going to the reunion there, Tim.
Giving the valedictorian speech next year.
The only problem is every friend I have when they go through London, I get barraged with photos, videos. Hey, all my favorite places.
I was there 2 months ago. I should have.
Oh yeah. It's nonstop. It's nonstop harassment.
You're not missing a lot. Pretty bad.
No.
Pretty poor weather.
Yeah.
Food's still no good.
Their best chefs leave and go get trained in France for a very specific reason.
Still no good food.
It is very true.
So moved around.
Yeah, moved around. And then Dad's last duty station was 32nd Street in San Diego. Right across, the Navy housing we were in is right across over in Coronado, on NAB Coronado. We lived in, my backyard was a chain link fence. There was a Silver Strand Highway, and then you looked right across, and there was this huge obstacle course.
You could see the SEAL training course.
Yeah, we had no idea. Now, you got to understand, this is 79. Back then, nobody knew about the SEAL teams. And even though I was, my dad was in Little Creek before, which is the other place, Dam Neck, you've always heard of that, where the teams are. We kind of knew of them, but I had no idea what they did. And
were they called SEALs then?
No, well, it's UDT SEALs. So underwater demolition teams.
BUDS,
they still had underwater demolition teams, and it was still called BUDS, Basic Underwater Demolition School. But there's the UDT teams. They're the traditional
underwater demolition,
and they support the fleet, and they're the guys that would go in and blow up all the
Jesse Ventura,
all that stuff. They blow up everything before and have the Marines land and do all that. But for me and my brother, we were like, we got our own playground, and so. We would ride our bikes, across the frickin' freeway.
Really?
We'd go across the freeway. Mom would, had no idea what we were doing. And then we figured that if we threw...
Oh, the early 80s, late 70s. Mom didn't know what any of us were doing.
You got a 12-year-old kid, and a 11-and-a-half-year-old kid.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, a 10-and-a-half-year-old kid. And we figured out if we throw a rug over the barbed wire, we can get over. And we start playing on the obstacle courses.
Could you imagine if you did that nowadays? You'd be shot at.
So they start kicking us off a couple of times, and then they realize we're not getting rid of these kids. And so they let us hang out.
Really?
And I learned about this job. I was like, oh my God, you get paid to jump out of airplanes, run around, wear these cool sunglasses. They were in the Varney sunglasses back then. And Varney's.
Oh yeah, buddy.
And shoot machine guns, blow stuff up. And so then my dad thought it was pretty funny I was hanging out with the SEALs until I told him about this great weekend that I had, where a couple of the guys told me, "Hey, come down. You go down the beach. And if this guy had, I think about it now. Every time they would blow up like C4, the explosives and stuff. They'd grab a little bit. And they'd keep it back at the team area. And then on the weekends, they'd go down and they'd make little bombs and throw it. So I'm sitting there, I'm like 12 years old, learning how to take C4 and just blow stuff up.
This could be good for you in your hunting humans thing, Colt. You could use this.
Yeah. We'll talk after, Tim.
Do you have any more and how much is it?
So it was crazy. And so I really enjoyed it. So I was hooked. This was it. So the only deal my dad said was, hey, listen, he goes, you're gonna get an education. So I go ROTC, I go to USC, but the whole time I'm just immersed. All I'm doing is prepping for BUDS. The whole time.
Did you graduate from SC?
Yeah, graduated from SC.
I might need a letter from you soon.
I went. I think they'd take it from me. I left out of there okay.
Okay, all right, good.
It's not the UK.
I had a couple of incidents. While
Wait, this letter is this from the UK, guys?
Yeah, exactly.
The guy that's made, no.
Oh, exactly. Where that really comes into play is my wife. It's really funny.
Yeah.
You know, I come across the board every so often as a unbanned individual, which really works with Metro.
For those of you who don't know, his wife Sasha is, what's the current job she has?
She's Deputy Chief of Homeland Security.
Deputy Chief of Homeland Security.
Yes, and I'm banned.
I'm on the
UK.
Like, there's 3 people banned from the UK. One of them was that guy who worked in Al Qaeda, cutting people's heads off.
Snoop Dogg. Snoop Dogg
and you.
Snoop Dogg and I, same day. Yeah.
Snoop was for pot possession, and we'll get to you.
And then there's me.
We'll get to you.
And then there's me.
Oh my God.
But what was really cool about that was, talk about from a entrepreneurial standpoint, absolutely ridiculous to think, because they did not want, back then, which is crazy people think now, back then the Navy did not want an officer candidate to go to the SEAL teams. No. They were the redheaded stepchildren of the Navy, because they really didn't belong in the Navy. And there wasn't really a career path, back then for it.
Those were mercs.
Yeah, exactly. That's how they tried. They
weren't officers. They were mercs.
The unique thing about it was those guys. The one thing I'll respect, the fact that they weren't at that chance to ever become an admiral or anything like that. When they ran missions, a 3-star could tell them, "Well, you go do this." If the officer didn't think it was safe for his guys, he literally had the power to go, "F you," we're not doing it. And today you can't even think of that. Now it's very political and everything. But so anyways, I had to really fight. There were only 2 slots, 2,500 guys applied. We all looked the same on paper. And the one thing I knew from moving around and knowing from the Navy at that time, I was like, I got to leave everything on the floor. What do I do? I had a buddy that was going to school at American University in D.C. Everything happens in D.C. That's where the detailer offices are. So I flew to D.C., hung out with my buddy. Everybody told me in the community, because I did know guys in the community, they go, "Well, you got to handle Margaret, man. Margaret's your gatekeeper." She had been there like 25 years. She ran every detailer. Detailer goes every 2 or 3 years. She did it, right? So
wait, were you in the Navy at this point?
Yeah,
You're in the Navy.
I'm an officer trained, so I'm midshipman.
Okay.
So I show up in my little midshipman uniform, and I'd been sending her flowers and doing anything. I show up there, and she goes, "Listen," she goes, "I can't promise you anything." She said, "You can sit here," and she said, the guy's name was Commander Goulet. She goes, "He may or may not see you." Now, this is on a Tuesday. I sat there 3 days in a smaller place like this, not as comfortable as this, in my uniform like this, being ignored,
Bud Fox style,
walking out, in and out the whole day, right?
Like me and you at a bar when we were single. Same thing.
Yeah. Same thing. Trust me, I did that for longer than 3 days.
So I'm sitting there Friday at 4:55. And this is the Navy building, which is next to the Pentagon area. I'm sitting there, and I hear this, "Midshipman," and I go, "You're still here? Why are you still on my couch?" I go, "Well," I said, "Sir, I just wanted to talk to you." He goes, "What could you possibly have to say to me?" I said, "Sir, listen, I know you have a big decision." I said, "I know everybody looks the same on paper. I just want you to know, if you pick me, I will not quit." He goes, "That's it? That's what you said to me?" I go, "Yes, sir." He goes, "Get out of my office." So I leave. Man, I'm dejected. I think I really screwed up. I'm walking down this ungodly long hall, with just like the linoleum and everything, and my head's down. And I'm kind of like, "Oh man, I blew it." Margaret kind of looked at me on the way out, and
told you.
I get halfway down the place, and one of the guys who's a JG at the time, Lieutenant JG, he runs down. He goes, "Larkin," and I turn around. And he goes, "Hey man," he goes, "We couldn't do this to you." He goes, "We just want you to know you had it Wednesday. We just wanted to see how long you'd stick around."
Really?
Yeah. And so, and it's that whole idea of the one thing I teach my kids too is like, take it to that next level, right. Go where it was. Now, listen, I had to perform. And what's interesting is I ended up getting injured, like I blew my ears 2 weeks before I was graduating.
In butt?
Yeah. And I had everything, man. I was the superstar, because it was unfair, because I'd been knowing since I was 12 years old what to do.
Right. Yeah.
So my guys, we won Hell Week. We did everything, every hard evolution. But I had bad ears. And I knew that going in. You guys are going to crack up. I literally took before I applied, the Navy gives you your medical records, physical medical records. Everything about my ears, I literally ripped out. And I handed it over in my packet. and they had no idea I had bad ears. Like I had small eustachian tubes. There's no way. I mean, the thought of me being able to pressurize dive the way I have to is ridiculous. But I got all the way through until one of the last dives, and it blew my ears, and that was it. So I didn't get to. I was going to SEAL back then. I was going to SEAL Team 4.
So hang on a second. So you had to ring the bell. You had to drop out.
No ring bell. No, it's called medical discharge.
You got medical discharge.
Oh yeah. I mean, I fought tooth and nail. And they go, listen, if something happens, you can come back.
So that's a big pivot point, man, because this is something you've been working for your whole life, and all of a sudden it's yanked from you.
I thought my life was over. But the interesting part about it was, when it comes to life and stuff, it was the first time. I mean, they beat the crap out of me. Nothing stopped me, going through. This was truly the first time I had an injury to the human body that I couldn't overcome. My will it meant nothing. It physically stopped me. And of course, that became the theme of my life, later on is the idea of exploiting injury to the human body, for self-protection reasons. But back then, I thought, I'm 21. I thought my life was over.
How long? I mean, did you go through a period of depression?
Oh yeah.
So did they reassign you in the Navy? Did they let you out of the Navy? What happened there?
I was super fortunate because they really liked me. They really liked me, and they said, "Listen, you're staying in the community. We're going to send you to Intel school, and we want you to come back as Special Warfare Intelligence," because they were expanding at the time. And they didn't want to waste. You think about it. They didn't want to waste a healthy body on Intel, And so they said, "Hey, we can have this kid. He knows them. He knows what we're up to." He goes, "We'll train him up and bring him back." They put me on the most senior command when I came back. I worked directly for the admiral who controlled all the SEAL teams back in Coronado, and I was literally surrounded by the legends of the SEAL teams. Berlin Wall's coming down, and they know we got to change the way we do business. They predicted everything. They predicted Bosnia-Herzegovina, all this stuff. But the big thing was we had to change our training, and we had to actually put hands on people again. Mm-hmm. And I had a martial arts background growing up. I judo, jiu-jitsu, boxing. My grandfather was a big boxer and got me in early. So they liked me. I had no business. They put this little pilot program together where all these senior enlisted guys that were on command, they decided, listen, we got to start looking for a new way of doing hand-to-hand combat. The last time they changed it was Vietnam. So I'm on this pilot program, and the only reason they have me is because I'm young, I got a good martial arts background, and I'm a meat puppet. They can knock me around and have fun. So we're doing this, and we're literally seeing all the martial artists from all over the world, and they're coming in, and everything worked, but it didn't work when we put our gear back on. So that was a big thing. So I end up. I had really good relationships with the other groups because I was briefing everybody. I was briefing DEA. I was working with Army. I was working with everybody. DEA buddy calls up because a lot of stuff was going on. If you say Narcos, well, that was all going on during that time. And so I had a bunch of DEA buddies, and they were training up for everything. So my buddy calls me up. He goes, "Hey man," he goes, "You guys still doing that punchy kicky stuff?" Because they were laughing at us. So we were doing hand-to-hand combat. It's not like the UFC. The UFC really hadn't taken off yet. Mm-hmm. And I go, "Yeah, asshole, we did." And he goes, "Well, listen, there's this guy in PB." He goes, "You might want to do him." He goes, he's a real asshole, but you get along with assholes." And that's another thing. People used to call me like the asshole whisperer because
hey, Chris,
what's something like that cost, Jim?
Exactly.
That's Chris's OnlyFans.
I mean, if you got to ask, you can't afford it, buddy. That's how that works.
And you mean you could calm unruly people down? Okay, I get it. What I found,
I thought that was a verb.
Well, what I found was
takes me back to my prison days.
That's the first time I thought about an OnlyFans account. That would be good. The asshole whisperer.
Yeah, asshole whisperer.
I'm sure that would already exist. I'm gonna go ahead and take a guess.
But what he meant by that was he said, "Hey, listen, this guy's a difficult guy,
right?
And they don't. What I found is the people that have the best knowledge when it comes to this kind of stuff. They don't suffer fools. They're not necessarily popular, meaning they're very effective. You want them, but it's weird. It's when you look back at the mystery or the history of martial arts. Everybody talks about Miyamoto Musashi, the swordsman, killed 60, he wrote 5 Wings. What they don't tell you is he was never sponsored. He was the most effective swordsman, his way of teaching. But because it was so straightforward and brutal, he couldn't get any funding, basically. He had to have a patron to do that. So his sword, at the very end, he had a guy that kind of helped him out. But here's the most effective guy, but because of his personality, because of who he wasn't acceptable. Mm-hmm. And I find that oftentimes is that in times of peace, when you don't need it, these people get pushed away because they're not socially they're tough to be around sometimes.
He was a true artist too, right?
Yeah.
Like calligrapher and
he
was sort of on his
samurai.
own level.
Yeah.
He probably half autistic. In some ways, he's just like, why don't you understand how to murder people with a sword? I don't get it.
Yeah. He was, but he was so elegant in how he did it. And he was so like he really understood how to get that done.
Study this guy.
Right now, somewhere, Avetta's listening to this, Googling this guy's name to learn how to kill Colt with a sword. That's what's happening right now.
You should always. Five Rings is one of the best business books you can read too.
What is it?
It's excellent.
5 Rings.
It's
Five
excellent.
Rings. Miyamoto Musashi. Yeah.
5 Rings. Okay, there you go. Power move.
It's very Buddhist.
Yeah, it is. And so there's a couple interpretations that really, when you get a certain version of it, it's very straightforward. And you can extrapolate a lot of great information out of it. But he was very straightforward about what he did. And same thing. So I go to this place. I show up, and it's like this little dingy studio. It's carpet, not even mats. I was gonna. I thought maybe he was jerking my chain. Right. So I'm about to leave. It's not open, but I see this little trifold, and it talks about the instructor. And the only thing that got me to go back was I knew my military history. This guy had been to Vietnam, and he just said he didn't make a big deal out of it. He just said 173rd Charlie Company, and I almost was stunned because these guys were literally left out in the jungle. And they were like Westmoreland special group. He wanted to see how long he keep people out there. This guy happened to be a tunnel rat. So he literally, because he's a little guy, he would go down with a 45 and a knife, go into that. I mean, so I said, listen, if nothing else, I said, I got to see who this is, So I go in the next day and I go to this training, and I got modified grooming standards at that time, meaning I have longer hair because a lot of what we're doing, sometimes I have to look like a civilian and go in. So I looked like a typical San Diego surfer when I walked in. And I'm hanging out, I'm watching, and I see these kids. Now, they're in regular gis, but the first thing I see a kid do with a yellow belt on, and now I have 3 black belts at the time at this point. And again, I'm training with the teams. I'm training with the SEAL team. I'm seeing some of the best martial artists in the world. This kid comes in against another kid, slams him in the side of the neck, comb grabs his hair, and out of nowhere comes a rubber knife, and he has the kid over. He knees him to the solar plexus, and he starts stabbing him in the neck, dropping him and going right into the next guy. And I'm like, shit. Wait, this is what we're looking. We've never seen anything.
What is this?
What were the auspices? Was it like
who are these guys?
Hapkido or Aikido or something?
What
did they call it?
What was so funny was that he was calling it Kung Fu
at
the time. He was calling it Kung Fu, and he trained with a guy in L.A. that was a former triad guy. And it's really interesting, but he didn't do it like anybody else that does the type of Kung Fu. He was very straightforward about how to take people out. That was his big thing. But he did it in he wasn't a brutal guy, but he was he was a brutal guy, but he wasn't, there was no chest bumping or anything like that. It was just about, hey, this is how you do it. You take him on, like, you want to learn how to, he would tell people, I remember guys would come in sometimes, you going to teach me anything good? I want to, how do you kill somebody? Go, like this, wham, 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 and they go, and people would freak out because they think they want that information, but they don't realize how easy it is to do to somebody, And so you got to be careful what you ask for.
Lesson learned, Colt.
Tim, we got to be careful what we're teaching Colt here. I just want you to understand. Last podcast, he actually asked me, he goes, how much fun would it be to murder a human being?
I'm top 3 scariest guys you've ever seen, right, Tim?
Just the fact you're Bulgarian background.
He's not. That's the scary thing.
I'm trying to.
I just need a good nickname.
Persona to be scary,
and that's what's
turquoise shirt.
But I'll say this. We'll take a little break from military. We're going to come back to it, but I just want to know because you would consider yourself a world class athlete in martial arts at this time, correct?
Oh yeah.
What were your backgrounds?
So you as someone that is a world class athlete can understand the amount of work it goes in to build a world-class athlete, correct?
Yes.
Okay, Colt, ask him.
So in Summer Winter Olympics, could you be an Olympian?
No.
Him first.
Okay.
In Summer Winter Olympics.
In either Olympics.
Either.
Could you have been an Olympian at your best?
Well, you were black belt in judo
at that time. No.
Okay. And you were a 3rd-degree black belt.
Yeah.
Okay.
You ever ridden a horse?
Actually, I have ridden a horse.
There you go. Equestrian.
So feel free to ask him.
Colt.
Get to it. Don't dance.
What? I'm just saying I could be on the curling team and the equestrian
Colt
team.
feels that he could be an Olympian inside of 12 months in either curling or equestrian because the horse does all the work.
That is
preposterous.
The craziest thing. Isn't that
now that I know Tim, maybe I could go to judo. 12 months, Tim.
Pick it up.
Look at this.
All right, okay.
Ronda Rousey would just
enough of your nonsense. Enough of your complete nonsense.
What were your black belts in? Did you have a
judo? I did judo, Tong Soo-do, and taekwondo.
So
that was always available. Yeah, Tong Soo-do is a Korean karate.
It's a karate, right?
Yeah, and taekwondo, same thing. And then judo is very practical. And then boxing. We did that. The Marines taught us judo and boxing. Yep. And but that was the only thing that was available. You know, basically anything that was on any base, it was where I got my training as a Navy kid. You know, and it was great. I loved it. It was really fun. But I thought, well, the other thing too that I learned moving around. Boston, you know, my great grandfather ran liquor with Joe Kennedy. You know, my grandmother denied that to her dying day. He had a bunch of pool halls. My grandfather was a jazz musician, took it legit, and then he got insurance and real estate. You know, he got into the company, so he was doing that, but he still had that edge. And he taught me and my cousins how to box. It was one of the first things we ever did. But he said something to me that lasted, and again, this is what the guy I talked to, same thing. He would tell us, he goes, boys, these are the rules when you're in the ring, blah, blah, blah. And we were in the basement doing that. But then he'd point to the window in the basement. He'd go, but if you're out there, he goes, no, you do this, you do that. You know, he knew there was a definitely different between a sport application and what happens in the street because he'd seen it. And it was really interesting. As a young kid, we didn't really understand what he was saying, but it all resonated later on and stuff. You know?
So you go back to let's go back to the gym. I want to talk about the guy in the yellow belt that was killing people with a rubber knife.
So I see that, and again, I'm used to these huge egos that I'm dealing with. These guys.
Me too. God, it's exhausting.
They're on black belt magazine.
It's not an ego if it's true.
Oh yeah, you know, and they're getting all the accolades. Again, this is all pre-UFC, and
But it's around the time of Kickboxer. I just want to say that.
Yeah. The Kickboxer.
Jean-Claude Van Damme's around at that time.
Yeah. You know Sasha's was in Kickboxer 4?
What?
Oh, yeah.
No.
I got to get you the clip.
Really?
I got to get you the clip. It's great.
Oh,
it's
my
classic.
God.
That's your wife, right?
Yes. Yeah. She's a fourth degree in Kempo.
Jeez. How'd you meet her?
God.
Met her in yoga.
Really?
Yeah.
Dude, Sasha, his wife, if you've never met her, she is nice. She's super, super nice. But, you know, the way she presents herself when she's out socially, you would never know.
No idea.
But isn't that...
No, like you, dude, you're like, I see you coming from like a mile away.
Right.
You would never know. Yeah. Never. Like you would fight her in celebrity boxing or something, Colt, and she would just murder you.
But don't you find most people are like that?
If she's willing to do that, that would be great.
I feel that most people that truly like study that or have gone down that, you know, they you never see it coming from them. That's why I always tell people don't mess with people in bars because I'm sure you never know how many people have gone up to you trying to fight you.
Well, that's why I laugh all the time. I laugh about that all the time. That people, it's like, yeah, I look the part. I get it. I look the part, and I go, but
that'll bring it on.
I'm not the guy. Yeah, and I tell people that all the time. I go, but I'm not the guy you got to worry about. Yeah. You know, the guy I always have to worry about is he's usually anywhere from 5'6", 5'6" to 5'8", 145 to 165 pounds, nondescript. And, you know, while the knucklehead like me is there, you know, flexing around, yelling at people and stuff that everybody thinks you got to worry about, he's the one that's quietly sipping his beer, you know, slipping the knife out and just ready.
Oh, boy.
And one thing that got me, my brother was a big dude, and he used to be a bouncer in San Diego in Mission Beach when it was Mission Beach. In the late 80s. It was just a biker place. It was there. And the place that he bounced at was Jose Murphy's, and Jose Murphy's was the Mongols and the Angels would show up on the weekends and stuff, and there regularly stuff going on. I'm there one night, and I take all my SEAL buddies over there. And we're there, and we just had a great time. They had live music. It was a fun dive bar, but the bouncers were amazing.
They would have to be.
This one guy, Mike, he's the tallest John, but he's 280 and just ripped. And he was great. He was also very good. He understood human nature. And usually every night, John, you know, Mike wouldn't do this. There's a little guy sitting at the bar, just having a beer. It's closing. It's 2:00, closing time. And Mike's tired as hell. You know, it's been a long weekend. He's telling everybody to drink up and go. Well, this guy's not really paying attention, and he's just kind of drinking his beer. And Mike takes as an affront that this guy isn't moving fast enough. So he says to him, He goes, hey, I told you to drink. He goes, I told you to stop right now. He goes, oh, I'm just finishing up like that. He goes, I told you now. And he just kind of throws his hand out, hits the guy in the chest. Guy goes over, slaps up, boom. Mike stands over him, on here. This guy's calculation must have been 280, ripped the shit, he bounced it. Nah, not happening today. The knife came out, the Achilles got cut, came up, cut the inside and the femoral.
Oh.
And he walked right out the door. Before any of us knew even what happened. He literally, you could tell, not the first time this guy's done it. Totally calm.
He knew exactly where to go.
He knew what to do.
And Mike came up quickly.
And to this day, Mike, still limps and stuff. He's a lot older now and stuff like that.
Might have been my wife.
But it was just, it was one of those moments where it was just such a teachable moment for me. When I'm still a young guy at this time. And you just realize, man, I'm always polite to everybody. I tell people all the time, like, I treat everybody like they're 6 seconds away from a shooting spree. Okay. And do I want to be the guy to trigger them? Meaning, with people you don't know, if you approach it from that aspect, it's just an amazing way to just keep yourself out of trouble.
Well, the number one thing that gets people in trouble is not being prepared for that guy who's going to start hitting you first. I don't care if it's your mother. If she walks up to you and hits you first multiple times, I don't care who she is, what size it is. The human body isn't supposed to get punched that often, right? And when you're not if you're expecting it, there's this thing that happens, right? But if you're not, if you're just standing there, some guy hits you twice. I mean, you're in big trouble. Right. So
most people freeze because they're not.
I didn't expect
such an interrupt, to them, and so you'll learn a lot. I tell people at this stage, training people in how to protect themselves and everything. The majority of what I train people in really is understanding human nature. Mm-hmm. It really is like Robert Greene. I'm going to be interviewing him in 2 weeks.
Sweet.
And
love Robert Greene.
Yeah. His book, The Laws of Human Nature, I think is
48 Laws of Power.
Well, 48 Laws of Power is great.
We have been through that book on this, and Colt's like Machiavellian salivating.
Can I come and meet this guy?
Yeah, I'd love to. Yeah, that's amazing.
I think it'll be a Zoom that we're doing.
Yeah.
Man,
but
that was my favorite.
That was your favorite episode. That was your favorite episode.
But his latest Laws of Human Nature, I think this is his opus.
Really?
Because it takes 48 Laws of Power, and then it just applies it to the whole human race.
So 5 rings.
Yep.
And 5 rings.
Miyoda Musashi.
And now what's the new
40, the new one's Laws of Human Nature.
Laws of Human Nature. So those need to go on the reading list if you're picking that up.
And they're excellent for negotiation.
Some of the things I love about this show is we always come up with stuff people should read. I love that.
Yeah, but
I do love that.
The most interesting people in the world, though, the ones that I like to speak to the most are like walking legs with books on them.
Oh yeah.
If you're well read, and read particularly because there's a thought process that goes on to actually sit with a book, even an audiobook. Mm-hmm. There's something about it. Like you can watch news, you can watch clips, but there's nothing more in depth than a book.
Yeah,
it goes into detail. Like right now, I was just in a car for 12 hours, so I got the River of Doubt, that one about Teddy Roosevelt's trip down the Amazonian River.
Oh yeah, I saw a review on that.
Holy shit!
Wow.
Just when you think about things like that, so you get to be immersive, you put yourself in there, and you're thinking about things as it's being told to you. So it's just, I think your brain starts doing this thing where it spreads out more than just linear information. That's what I think books are valuable for.
I think books are really good that way, and it's funny because as a kid, when you're forced to read stuff, it's the worst thing ever.
They say reading is like anal sex. If you're forced to do it as a kid, you're not going to like it as an adult.
That came out of nowhere.
That wasn't my joke. It wasn't my
Tim,
joke.
How did you end up in the UK?
Oh man.
Wasn't my quote.
That's
JFK quote. Was that a famous JFK quote?
I think it was Lincoln.
Hey.
I think it was Lincoln.
I just added that one. That's awesome.
Brought to you by our sponsor, The Asshole Whisperer. There you go. Right now on OnlyFans. See, Tim?
Yeah. So did you go after your government work and just start consulting?
Yeah. So I started working. So the guy that I found, that guy I told you about that. I ended up the actual instructor was the guy that I brought to the team compound, and they knew I didn't bring him right away. You got to understand. Here I am, this guy blows his ears and buds. I got no credibility whatsoever. They like me,
right.
But I'm talking. These guys are legends, at the time.
Yeah.
And the only reason I did it was because they noticed I started to train differently. We trained like 3 or 4 times a week, and I remember Master Chief Hayden at the time, Roger Hayden, great guy. He came up to me, he goes, "What are you doing?" Well, he goes, you're moving different. He goes, you're doing stuff. He goes, this is not stuff we've been training. Where are you getting? I go, well, I've been training with this guy. Who you been training with? You know, the whole thing.
Right.
And so then they find, and you didn't bring him in here. I go, well, Master Chief, I didn't know, you know?
Right.
So I bring this guy in, and he, like I said, he's former Army and everything. The only problem is he thinks lifers are worthless, you know, like and in particular, he doesn't like the SEALs.
Right.
Because he thinks they're overrated.
Right.
You know,
Right.
and he's in there. But what was really interesting was I bring him in, it was kind of like the whole old Maxwell Smart thing. I brought him into the skiff, you know, which is the compartmentalized area, and they were going to talk about the programs and everything. They had his DD-214 there. They had his whole record. They knew they vetted him ahead of time, so they knew who he was. Man, there was a camaraderie right away. And what was interesting was everybody else we brought in was talking about punching, kicking, moving. First question they asked him from a tactical standpoint was tactical, and it was about a SEAL Team 6 shipboarding incident that had happened where they had gone to go through the first hatch, the first door, to get into the control room, and they had been jacked up. One of the bad guys had jacked up the second guy in the line going in, and everybody else is held out. They can't get past it. Right. And the number one man is fighting for his life. Right. You know, he's in there, you know, shooting everybody. And they hadn't, in 6 years, nobody had come up with how to deal with it. My guy sits there, looks at it, lines everybody up right away. Now, he doesn't know the nomenclature of the latest weapons and everything, but he lines everybody up. Replicates the same thing. The guy comes up playing the bad guy, jacks the guy exactly as this guy had been jacked up and held up. And Jerry looks at him and he points at the guy. He goes, "Lie back and sit down." Guy lies back, sits down, and it pulls the guy off, but the weapon goes center line on him. So think about it. Like if somebody is sitting there and we use this on retention for your weapon. If somebody grabs your weapon, if I sit down and pull, and this guy's holding on to the weapon, it goes center line every time. So not only did the rest of the team be able to go in right away, but the guy that was wrestling with him, he's on target and takes him out like that. Had nothing to do with punching and kicking, and that's why I try to tell people, I go, when we did this, it wasn't, this guy didn't get the contract for, you know, impressive martial arts. Right. It was because tactically he knew how to kill. He understood what the deal was. And so he immediately got a pilot program. We got in, we're training. So I'm great, you know, everything's going great. Having fun. I become an instructor in the military. We do these amazing classes out at San Clemente Island. We're 30 days out there each time and just immersing ourselves in this. And this guy was great. He just brought in all his Vietnam background, and the guys loved him. It was really fun. But I'm going to get out because this is right after Gulf War I. We'd done Panama, Gulf War I. And then what people forget is there's this lull. And everybody started getting out of the military because they were like, you know, doing pizza delivery to Haiti and stuff. It was just like nobody wanted to. Everybody's getting out.
Bosnia.
So I get out.
Later.
So I get out, and I'm going to Wall Street. You know, I have my degree was international business, you know, from SC, and I'd done a year in London overseas, and so I'm going, okay, yeah, I'll go. My buddy had a place for me. I was going to go to, I think, Morgan Stanley.
Did you retire military?
We didn't retire yet. I was in the reserves. So I stayed in the reserves. But, you know, that's a easy commitment. And really cool unit in the reserves that I did, an intel unit. But so I'm thinking, okay, I'm going to take 6 months off before I go. I had money, you know, set aside, and I was just going to kick back and do some stuff. So the instructor, the guy there, he starts getting contracts. So everybody finds out the SEALs training with this guy, and then he wants to go to the Bragg and just do the tour, you know, and everybody wants him. And then corporate groups are calling him because a lot of the guys get out and they go corporate security, and so all of a sudden Exxon's calling us and everything. And Jerry's like, hey, that's not me. I don't know how to negotiate with these guys. Can you help me out with it for a little bit? So 6 months turned into 12 years. Really? And dude, I had a career like it had nothing to do with money, you know, because, you know, I made okay money, but I had access to the people and you know, we met CEOs and celebrities and all these other people that a traditional career I never would have had this even a traditional career in the military.
Well, we got to get to England.
Yeah, well, so
right now I just feel it. Somebody's in their car.
So I'm training,
listening to this, and they're like, "Can we get to the damn England story?"
So, what about the John Wick shooting training?
Yeah, let's get to that.
So yeah, that's actually pretty funny.
I said I was going to come join you.
I go and I train with this guy, and we're together 12 years, and then he basically his ego got out of control, and unfortunately, everybody, you know, he kind of isolated everybody, you know, on that, and so. which again, he was a functioning sociopath. I mean,
he's seen some things though.
It was good. Yeah. Oh no, he was great. I'm thankful every day I met him and everything, but it went its course. And then I went off and I was going to, again, get back in the business world. All of a sudden I started getting calls from everybody because he's not training anybody. He's not returning anybody's calls and stuff. So I start training again. So I end up taking a lot of my old instructors, a lot of my old military guys came back, and we all started, really doing a great business, and it was fun. And this time, we had no constraints. We could train because Jerry would always try to constrain stuff. So it got really popular. I started training internationally, and London was an obvious place for me to go because I had a lot of contacts over there. So I trained their special forces, their military, their police. Plus, I started doing civilian training. So I started getting known. I started getting interviewed over there. I became like way more in the media over there than I ever was over here. So I'm on numerous shows. And in 2006, I did a show, and they had knife crime starting there. The place I was training was a place called Slough.
And you and just real quick, I forgot to show you guys this. That's Tim on the old cover of a Black Belt magazine. You can't see this from the podcast. Maybe you can zoom in on that tight. I don't know, but cover of Black Belt magazine looking.
With the knife.
Yeah.
The best part about that is
I love that picture.
That picture, I'm sitting there, we're doing all these other ones.
This needs to be like your Facebook profile. Well, like, hey, how you doing?
I'm showing everything in that thing. In the last pic, the guy goes, hey, I need something with a knife. Will you just hold the knife like this? And I'm going, I'd never hold a knife like this.
Yeah, what kind of
and I take the shit and I look at my buddy and I go, that's the fucking pic they're going to use.
Sure enough,
that's what they use,
You look kind of like one of the guys that they're going to tee up Steven Seagal to win, even though you have to be like
exactly what he looks like.
Oh my God.
Exactly what he looks like.
He's going to lose. But.
Yeah,
henchman number 7.
Exactly.
Teed up henchman. Okay, send in handsome henchman.
just drop.
Yeah, and no talking because you'll go to SAG card.
You're just going to run at him. He's going to throw me over him for some reason.
So I do this round table where they bring me in as like the crazy American, but I get the head of Metropolitan Police, a rabbi, former head of the MI6,
the Bobbies.
And at the end, everybody agrees with my approach. They say it's sane, social, sane, in there. It's really relevant, except the MP from Slough, right? So her name is Rosie something. Anyways, I go back into the green room, and she's sitting with another MP friend of hers, woman. So I shake hands with both of them, Then, 2011, they have the riots in London. Okay, so fast forward, I've been training this whole time. Never had even a parking ticket over there. Right. And I get called. I'm here in Vegas, and I get called for interviews. And so BBC interviews me, and everybody legit. Right. And the next day, the last question the BBC interviewer asked me was, hey, you've been coming here for a long time. You have a lot of clients. Did you have any clients in the riot-affected areas? And I said, well, yes. And my whole premise was, hey, it's time for the UK to look at their self-defense laws. They have to change. It's obvious they have to change. And I said, yes, I do have clients in the affected area. Have you been? Do anyone want to show you the areas? I said, yeah. And my whole thing is, I train people basically to recognize the potentiality for violence, and when you do, you can get yourself out of there. So you don't have to act. Right. That's my whole thing. Worst case scenario, violence is the answer. Type thing. Yeah. So boom. So they were going to show me, hey, Tim, I recognized A, B, and C. And I got myself out of there. Type of thing. That's all it was. Everybody reports it legit, except the Mirror. The Mirror is kind of like
the rag.
It's a rag. It's the Sun or whatever, or the New York.
Yeah, on page 6 of it.
Same page.
A big headline. Larkin to lead riot tour. And they said I was going to go around rabble rousing. They called me a vigilante. Like I was going to encourage vigilantes. We all dismissed it. My guys over there dismissed it, everything. Boom. That MP from Slough sends it, right? Guess who her buddy was that I sat next to?
Steven Seagal.
Theresa May.
No, sorry.
Theresa May.
Oh, who then was prime minister.
Well, at that time, she was the home secretary.
Right. Oh, yeah.
Boom, sends it to her, and she goes, we got to get rid of this guy. And issues an immediate travel ban on me right away because they know I'm coming over. But I'm not coming over till the following May, right? And so they issue this travel ban, and they say it's supposed to happen, right? I never hear anything. So I'm going, this is the year I won. I was inducted to Black Belt Hall of Fame. I was going to speak in Birmingham at a huge European martial arts conference. Me and Randy Couture were the two keynote speakers at that time. Huge thing that they're bringing me over for, right? I show up at the Virgin counter at McCarran at the old place before they had Terminal 3. And I show up, and it's always the 4:00 flight to London is always like packed, and you got bodies coming in and everything. So I hand over my docs to the Virgin attendant, and I notice she's starting to stall. Like usually it's a quick boom, 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 you go. Right. Now she's stalling, and then I hear this, Mr. Larkin. And I turn around, and this guy, all he needed was the bowler hat and the umbrella. He had the 3-piece suit. He was your total British admin guy, and he's from the Border Defense Agency, which is their Homeland Security. And he said, "I'm presenting you this letter from the Home Secretary." He goes, "You are banned from traveling to the UK." He goes, "You will not be boarding this flight." And he hands me the letter, right? And I'm like, shit, dude.
Tell me you have that framed.
Oh yeah, I do. It was like the party of the Red Sea. All of a sudden, I go from bodies on me to everybody's like, "Who's this Irish terrorist?"
I was just gonna say it's because of Larkin. They're still mad about Belfast.
My Irish relatives are just loving it. They think it's great that I'm banned.
They're like, fucking Brits anyway.
So we go to fight it, right? And here's how bad it was. You have 90 days. It says the letter. Now the letter's dated December. Okay, and this is May. Right. And they're saying that you had 90 days from December to contest. And we're like, wait a minute. Oh. If you guys were so sure that you had informed me, right, why did you fly somebody 6,000 miles to Vegas to personally give me this letter? And it's like. They didn't handle that. But the UK is such that it's not like if it was here in the US, we could have done something. Right. Yeah. But their rules are very vague. And the best part of the thing is it says that at the very end, it says, this will be reviewed every 3 to 5 years. And what do you mean 3 to 5 years?
You're doing 3 to 5 on the UK.
Really? Yeah, I have no idea. And it's still like that right now.
People don't realize certain laws there. Like they don't change. America, for all its warts, like does a lot of things right when it comes to certain things. Yeah. Like Canada has laws, right? Hate crime laws, specifically. And, not just the Bill C-31 you heard about and all this stuff, but there's some of these laws that are very top down because they're parliamentary and it's different. It's similar but different. People don't realize it. There's certain things where, I can't, like the COVID things. They had just different police powers. They had different ways of pursuing different things.
I think that's where a lot of Americans become ignorant, right? Yeah. Like the whole Brittany Griner. Like, why are you going into somewhere with marijuana, right? Like I think we think everything's whatever, it's another country or it's the same, right? And it's just not. And they can screw with you as much as you want.
Well, she's probably that's an interesting situation because she'd probably gone over there a bunch of times with it. But here's the thing: how many people are sitting in American cages for the exact same crime and nobody gives a shit? That's one of my favorite memes. People going, that guy who's all mad. It's like, why do you care about somebody in Russia who went to Russia and did that? You got people sitting in cages here.
No, I get it. So, Tim, are you still training people? Is that? I mean, but you've parlayed this. Still doing trainings. Yeah. Is it more individuals? Or are you still doing?
It's mostly, so I would say 20% of the biz is professionals, military, law enforcement, and they're fun to do. They're great. A lot of them don't have the time or budget anymore, though.
Do you ever do MVP? The merging vets and players at Couture's Gym. You just mentioned Randy. So,
no.
So at Couture, I do jiu-jitsu with the MVP guys on Tuesday, Thursdays. Oh, okay. It's called merging vets and players. It's where you take people with UFC guys and they bring a lot of military. So it's a free class.
Oh, that's really cool.
At 8 a.m. on Tuesday, Thursdays. And there's a lot of military vets that don't have a lot of money. Right. So they train for free. They don't have to pay the gym fees.
That's cool.
And Randy and Ryan Couture let them.
If you know anybody out there in Vegas that is a vet that doesn't have a lot of money, or wants to train MMA, whatever.
It's getting people into jiu-jitsu, right? Yeah. So it just so happens that everybody that comes is an MVP person because the MVP program has other times as well.
I like that.
It's really amazing.
That's really cool. We've done a lot of training of vets, and in my other business, of course, I have all vets that do it for the machine gun range and stuff. Mm-hmm. It's great that guys are doing that. I mean, it's so important that they do, especially the guys that are injured. I know a lot of guys that are disabled, and they're still able to get out there and do athletic stuff, which is awesome.
Some guys I train with, they wear shoes. Like this one guy, Tim, he's great. He's a CO. He does the training for the COs up at High Desert. But he has to wear boots because his feet are just destroyed. Yeah. Another guy has 100% fusion. Wow. In his spine. All these guys, some of them have taken IEDs. Yeah. Some of them have taken you know, they'll be telling me after class, like, oh yeah, this one time I had a flashback in the grocery store. Like they're going through all these things, right? Because they've been hit by IEDs and they've all served, they've all been overseas, and some of them multiple times. Yeah. And they're training jujitsu, and it's really cool because these guys who have every excuse not to be there
are there.
Right, they're there. You know, having my heavy ass laying on them, trying to break their spine against.
Why did I immediately feel sorry for your wife just as soon as you said that?
That was the only reason? There's plenty of reasons, John.
That's a good point. That's a good point. So Tim, if people want to find you, they want to work with you, how do they find you?
Probably the easiest way to go is just go to timlarkin.com.
TimLarkin.com.
Yeah, I got a lot of free information.
Because like here in town, you get some cool stuff, not just the general training. You got because we were talking about the John Wick thing. Yeah. Are you still doing that?
Yeah, well, I have a lot of guys that are former like Team 6 guys and groups like that, and we take people out and we train them. We have machine guns in Vegas, but then we also have a tactical ranch.
Yeah.
And so that's where we do a lot of the training. And so it's all great spec ops guys. And what I want to make clear to everybody is, you know, sometimes people think, oh, well, I'm not good enough to train with special operations guys. These guys are the best, meaning they will take a beginner and just take you right through the great training. You don't waste any time.
I feel like we need to go do this.
I think we are.
And we absolutely need the other thing that's cool too is if you're doing something like if you're going to be carrying for CCW, you want to have somebody that's been in situations time and time again, and they're very aware of the self-defense rules and all of that, but they also understand what it takes to do that, and they're the first guys to teach you to walk away. And that's just invaluable.
Did you hear that Jocko Willink quote?
Oh, which one?
Recently, and it's just you talk about SEALs. You talk about a really famous SEAL guy who's a jiu-jitsu stud and whatever. Yeah. He goes, he's talking about self-defense. People are talking about, I want to box for self-defense. He's like, why do you need to box for self-defense? If no one's grabbing you, just leave.
Yeah.
He's like, the only self-defense you need to know is jiu-jitsu because you now have your hands on me and you're preventing me from going somewhere. And that's kind of an interesting thing where a guy like that is total stud.
Yeah.
Rip your arms out. He's going, you want to dance and box with me? I'm just going to leave. I'm not fighting you. Yeah. This isn't a military operation, right? I'm not going to get into a bar fight with you just because your hands are up and you square off. I'm just going to leave.
Yeah.
Safely until you have your hands on me.
I'm hoping to get him on. That's the other thing, John. If people want to check on my my YouTube channel too.
Promote away.
The only reason I'm saying I've got some really unique people. I've got guys like I just interviewed a head of the former head of the Aryan Brotherhood who just got out. Totally reformed his life, but he gives very realistic information about what it's like to be in such a petri dish of violence and how they operate. And there's a lot of good lessons there. Another guy from the Mexican Mafia, he was taken by YPO in LA to talk to them about how do you build an
organization.
Hey,
well, vertically integrated.
These leaders are locked up 23 hours out of the day, yet they run tens of thousands of people.
Of inmates around
that. It's just crazy, when you think and how they do it.
That's fun. And YPO was just like, hey, you wanna know how to run your organization?
Oh,
yeah. A guy who can run it from the clink.
Yeah. It ended up getting the sheriff's department in so much trouble.
Screw Tim Ferriss with his 4-hour work week. This dude's doing half an hour a
work day.
Yeah. That's it. He's got half an hour to pull it all off, buddy. That's it. That's good stuff. All right, well, Tim, check out timlarkin.com. Thanks. As we're going to end the show, as we started ending it now, which is going to become a ritual on the show.
Yeah.
Which Tim will be indoctrinated. You'll be indoctrinated into this now. Which is, I didn't mean to do that. Which is
God.
I didn't mean to do that.
Canned laughter.
5 minutes into Colt's. 5 questions into Colt's mind.
I forgot about this.
5 questions into the mind of Colt.
You ready, Tim?
Here we go. Into the mind of Colt. You ready, Colt?
I'm not ready.
Here we go. You ready? Question 1. What's the biggest lie you once believed was true?
That I could be in that question.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair. I'll take that. All right, question 2.
Because you know why? Your sister ruined it for me. I've never had my dreams crushed as your sister thrown out.
So John's sister calls in, pretending to be Bruce Springsteen's daughter, who's a gold medalist equestrian rider, and just takes a strip off him. Absolutely barbecued him. And at the end of it, he's like, "Oh my God, I'm so wrong." And start laughing. It's like, this is Mindy.
It's my sister, Mandy. Whatever. Here we go. All right. Question 2. What is the main thing that influences your decisions? This we got to know.
That influences my decision.
Yes.
will it piss people off?
Oh, no, yes.
But I don't mean that like, oh, I'm afraid to piss people off. It's like, is this going to piss people off? Sure, I might do it even more.
I'm in.
And
will Yvette beat you for the decision?
Exactly. Is my wife going to leave me? Those are two main things.
Okay, all right. Yeah. Will this piss people off? Will
my wife's probably related to that Mexican mafia guy you met.
Yeah, no, she probably really is. Nuts. All right. If you had to lose one of your 5 senses, which would you give up?
Oh, smell for sure.
But that's also taste.
And why? Why would you give up
smell, man? You ever hold your breath when you walk by people just based off of what they look like?
Colt, I've been to 47 countries. Not all of them.
Smell.
That's prejudging people.
Oh, I judge the shit out of you. If you see me go like this when I walk by you,
you look like
you stink.
Oh, that's great.
What else would you want? Hearing would suck to lose. Eyesight would be the worst.
But taste would be probably a healthier thing to lose.
No, I like food.
Yeah, but I'm saying, right? If you did,
it'd be healthier.
Yeah, you could just eat just nothing but
smell, man.
Smells get broccoli.
People.
Last question: name something on your to-do list that never gets old.
On my to-do list?
Oh, I'm sorry. Name something. No, not never gets old. Name something on your to-do list that never gets done. Not old. Sorry, never gets done.
Cold calling.
Yeah, I gave up on that years ago.
What was it?
Cold calling.
Cold calling. It's always on the to-do list, but it never gets it done.
No, you know what's so funny you bring that up? It was in my calendar up till probably a year ago. It's been 20 years, guys. And it's like, it's not going to happen. Yeah.
Every day cold call pops up.
Yeah,
nope.
Like, cool. I got an hour to do shit. Let's go.
It's like Facebook allows you to do this thing when you have a time limit on it.
Yeah. I have it on my phone.
Through it and you just go ignore for today.
Yes, I know.
So you just get used to hitting that every day.
The ignore button. It's just really one more chore you have to hit on Facebook. One more thing.
Tim, when are we going to go train? I need to.
Yes. I think we want the full tactical experience.
Go get your CCW first.
I have a dream all the time that I'm going to be stuck on a mountain with somebody I don't like and get to hunt them. And now I'm kind of wanting it not to have no weapons. I just want to be able to track them down, rub some deer piss on me so they don't smell me, and
whittle out a spear.
Jump out and bare hand.
You know, deer piss isn't good for humans, right?
I don't know. I saw it on a movie.
A person would smell the deer piss.
A person would.
Yeah, they'd be like, "Wait, is there a deer around?" They'd stall just enough for me to get my hands on them, Tim. Let's do it.
You're the secret yellow belt that was stabbing guys in the leg, weren't you?
That's it. No, but I do want to go do the tactical thing. I think that'd be cool.
No, let's go.
Going to say
rub
deer piss on you.
I love it. All right, cool. Well, check it out again, timlarkin.com. If you want to, for some reason, follow Colt. Colt, how do they find you?
Colt _Amidan.
Colt _ Amidan. Yep. And the counselor, how can they find you for all of their legal needs?
Connel Law on Facebook, Connel Law LV Instagram. And my number is 702 Connel, so you should be able to remember that pretty easily.
Yeah, 702 Connel. Unless you don't know if it's spelled with 2 N's, 2 L's, 1 N.
There's 7 letters. I'm sure you'll figure it out.
That's like a Wordle, though. Do you really want to give people a Wordle for your legal phone number?
I think, you know what? The way I always tell people, here's what's easy for me. Every single billboard in this city is owned by a company called Connell, and they don't own 702 Connell. I do. So I constantly, so there'll be lawyers advertising. Meanwhile, it's my name on there that they're going to maybe remember. 702 Connell.
It's a strong move. Well, thanks for coming in, guys. And remember, if you're going to move, man, move forward. See you next week.
Awesome.
Hey, it's John Gafford. If you want to catch up more and see what we're doing, you can always go to thejohngafford.com, where we'll share any links that things we talked about on the show, as well as links to the YouTube where you can watch us live. And if you want to catch up with me on Instagram, you can always follow me at thejohngafford. I'm here. Give me a shout.